I am with the Allegheny Valley School District. For those of you who aren't familiar, it's a small district near Riverview. We also border Deer Lakes, and most of the time people don't know where it is because our high school is called Springdale High School. So we have a different district name, and then Springdale High School is the high school, which people often say I go to Springdale. So just to clear that up in case you're wondering where anything was located. We are a smaller school district. We just consolidated from 3 buildings to 2 buildings over the past year or so. And we have just under 1,000 students that go to our district, which that fluctuates a bit here and there. We've been upwards of 1,300 during my stay there, and right now we're just under 1,000. I have 23 years of teaching experience. I was a 4th grade teacher for about 11 years prior to taking this STEAM position. We have STEM at the high school, and there was an interest in moving STEM down to the elementary building. We chose to do STEAM so that we could incorporate some art. And I've been in this position for 4 years now, and have taken on more grade levels each year as the program has gone on. A little bit about our tech, because I think that will help to give a picture of what we're doing as far as instruction during remote learning. We do have one-to-one from grades 3 through 12. We are using a couple of different devices. When we originally rolled out one-to-one with some of the high school students, they were using iPads, and that has since transitioned. Some of those grade levels that were originally using iPads are now using Chromebooks. And the addition of Chromebooks from grades 3 through 6 was added last year. So that's the first time that we've had one-to-one Chromebooks at the elementary level. We do have a couple of iPads in the classrooms pre-K to 2 or Kindles in some examples, just depending upon grants that were written and things like that. So we are not one-to-one K through 2 or pre-K through 2. Okay, so that I kind of just paraphrased that, but you're welcome to go back and read that later. We are using a couple of different platforms for remote learning. The high school is using Schoology. Some of the teachers at the high school are comfortable with Google Classroom and are using that. 3 through 6, because we introduced the Chromebooks this year, our teachers were just starting to get used to rolling out Google Classroom for instruction at school. And we started Seesaw for Schools. We used it last year kind of as a pilot, and then purchased Seesaw for Schools this year for pre-K through 6th grade. What have we done? So because of the tech that we had purchased, we're going to use Seesaw for remote learning, grades pre-K through 2. We were directed for the pre-K through 2 students to post assignments on Seesaw. And if you're familiar with the platform, Seesaw, they have something called home learning codes that were issued through the platform itself. The homeroom teachers were able to communicate with parents in order to send the home learning codes home and get the kids hooked up to a device at home in order to receive their instruction during remote learning. If students and parents needed devices in pre-K through 2, they did have a opportunity to request a device from the school district. So the first couple of weeks of remote learning, the district was handling getting devices to those that needed them. And the Seesaw is just an app-based program that works across all devices. So most families were able to put it on a phone or an iPad that they already owned. A little bit of a different layout for 3 through 6, since those students did have Chromebooks. Before closure, we were able to send those home. And then we post assignments through Google Classroom in grades 3 through 6. I was fortunate enough to already have been using Google Classroom before the closure. So the only grade level that I didn't have already hooked up to Classroom was 3rd grade, and I was able to use the Seesaw platform to communicate with parents and get those kids the code to join and get them rolling for instruction as far as 3 through 6 is concerned. I should also state with Google Classroom, because the Chromebooks were new to us this year, there were some teachers that were already using Google Classroom in the elementary grades, but it was kind of spotty and maybe only for certain projects. So this was really our year to kind of learn more, try more, and really get that rolled out. So obviously we all are under the same trial by fire scenario. So I know people are getting a lot more comfortable with it now. Since I was utilizing 2 platforms for my STEAM instruction, also I should probably say, I might have skipped over this. I see the students in the special rotation. So I see all students in the building, 530 kids, once a week for 45 minutes. So I am instructed then to post 1 assignment per week for elementary students. This is just a screenshot of what those assignments looked like for home learning week 1, home learning week 2, in the different platforms, because the layout's just a little bit different. I just gave general student directions that were kind of generic, and I did that on purpose, just to have the kids collect items from around the house and then use consumable things that they had: toilet paper tubes, paper towel tubes, toothpicks, cups, and then any toys that they had at home that they could use as a building material. So I'd like to show a little bit of the student work next. I'm going to share some resources with you as far as the task cards are concerned. What I did here is I just took a screenshot of one of the task cards. I allowed the students to pick from, I guess there were 14 or 16 task cards that were sent electronically, and they were allowed to pick one for week 1. So this is an example of some of the students who chose the make your name and what materials they used in order to do that. These examples were all sent through Seesaw, which has a photo option as far as adding a response and submitting work. The quality of the photos pretty nice because they were using a home device. A lot of them are using iPads. And then here are some other sample student work. Make some yummy food. These were really sweet to see. Students cooking and baking with their family. And this was a really popular choice as far as work submission, building the tallest tower. I found it really interesting what some of the students submitted as their building mechanism for building the tallest tower. I got some toilet paper towers and some paper towel towers. And one student who took all of the plasticware, plastic containers out of the pantry and built a tower with that, which was enormous and probably a big pain to put away. But these, obviously you can tell how proud they are of their work. So these were really sweet to see. This is another card, make a table and chair, and a couple of examples. of tables and chairs. This particular one with the toilet paper and the paper towels, this one was a video. So she was able to explain how someone would sit on this and how they would use it as a table. These are two of the hyperlinks that I will share with you as far as resources for accumulating the task cards. The one on the right has the cards that I showed throughout the presentation, and she also has blanks that are a part of that set that you could then make your own tasks from it. The one on the left, this steamsational.com, she does monthly STEAM challenge cards. So they're themed a little bit. This is the spring one that she had just put out. This is a 6, I'm trying to remember if it's a 6 or 8 card page that she puts out, usually monthly. So those are nice, they're free. And you just have to go and download them from her, and they're a nice resource to have. And then this is another hyperlink that I shared. We were fortunate enough last year, the Allegheny Valley School District was awarded a STEAM Catalyst grant from the AIU and the Grable Foundation. And our focus with that was to push more STEAM out into the regular classroom. As part of that focus, I wanted to accumulate some resources for teachers to have task cards, building materials, and challenges that they could have within their elementary classrooms. And Brooke Brown was one of the people that I came across on Teachers Pay Teachers that has very quality materials. All 3 of these that I shared as hyperlinks, these are all free items. This STEAM Bins at Home came out right after the closure. This STEM in a Snap is a like a basic worksheet that you can apply to any building challenge. And then she just came out with the Summer STEM pack also, which is also free. But her items are very high quality and very easy to, not a lot to reproduce. She also offers them digitally, and I find that they're really good quality, so it's a good resource to share. Some of the things that we were kind of instructed as far as presenting through this showcase was some of the lessons that we learned throughout this process. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that next. Since our district is using multiple platforms, that did kind of present some challenges as far as learning was concerned, especially with parents that have multiple students and multiple grades. You have some assignments coming through Seesaw, and then older students having assignments coming through Google Classroom. And then we had some teachers who hadn't used Seesaw at all, and were trying to interpret how to do that. And then they started posting assignments pre-K through 6 in Seesaw, even within the special rotation. So we had some bugs to work out, certainly at the beginning, that I feel are much more smooth now, but that did cause some anxiety and confusion at the beginning. Another thing that I found personally, I did use a Google form in one of my first couple of assignments. I think I used it on week 2 as far as submission for student work. And when I created the Google form, because I have 300 and some students in grades 3 through 6, the Google form populated to house in one place. I didn't post it correctly in order to separate it so that all the 6th grade responses came in one place, or all the 4th grade responses came in one place. So that was a little thing I had to work through myself. I did figure out after if I created the form separately, it would then keep the responses together and not combine them. So that was just a tip that I found out right at the beginning. Because we didn't have a lot of time to prepare for remote learning, There certainly was a need for tutorials, which I found myself scrambling to acquire at the beginning of remote learning. So I would say if you are going to roll out any type of new tech, or maybe acquire or house some of those tutorials for yourself before, if you can. It will help you as things come up. I know we can't always predict what the questions are going to be, but if you have a couple of resources, general resources for Google Classroom, or a teacher that you follow on YouTube that makes little tutorials, it's just good to have that in advance. I know that most of us are finding that students are not following directions. So because we have multiple platforms, and the 3 through 6 students also have Seesaw accounts, the students were going to the Google Classroom account in order to get the assignment, and then not reading the directions that were posted in Google Classroom to submit their work there. And then we're going and taking a video or a photo in their Seesaw account and sending it separately through Seesaw, which was a little bit of a grading issue at the beginning, which I since have worked out. I've just taking screenshots of the kids' work in one platform and moving it to the other, or just simply leaving myself a note that it was entered on Seesaw and just scoring it to move it out. And then just the general ability of the students to use technology, that has been a little bit of a learning curve, I think, for everyone. Because we didn't have an opportunity to say, okay, here's how you take a photo and post that with your Chromebook, or here's how you upload this or upload that. We didn't have the opportunity to really walk them through the ins and outs of everything that they were going to be asked to do. This little video on the right is not intended to be played right now, but this goes along with students' ability to use technology. I was hoping it would show you the picture here, but that's okay. I had a student submit in Google Classroom, so the assignment was submitted correctly. He chose the card, make something that flies, and then built a spaceship type Lego piece, which he recorded himself making the Lego something that flies for 26 minutes. And the video is of his upper body, and you can't see anything he's building until the last 22 seconds of the video. He holds it up, and then it's over. So their ability to use technology also has kind of impeded our progress, but I feel like we're starting to work a lot of those kinks out as we move forward. All right, let's see. Couple practical tips. Videos and assigned tasks. So as we kind of rolled into week 3, I figured out, how I wanted the lessons to be laid out remotely, and found a little video to go with the task that I had. And once I developed that, I tried to use that as my template then for future assignments. So if you have an opportunity to create your lesson that way, so that it's the same format or the same template from week to week, I think that really helped to smooth things out from week 3 on, because I kept that format for myself when I was posting assignments. I mentioned tutorials before. One of the things that I did as far as housing or curating the tutorials was just create a Google Doc for myself with some headings. Once I found a good tutorial for uploading a picture or what have you, so that I had an easy place to go and copy and paste those as I was responding to parents or student questions. Keeping it simple, because I'm in the special rotation, obviously their ELA work, their math work is a lot more important than what I'm doing. but my assignments tend to be really fun, so the kids look forward to them. I tried to keep the video portion of my lesson really short and allow them time for building as the majority of the lesson. And then, it still felt like they were playing or creating during that time. So I think there's a lesson learned there too, that the activities shouldn't take an excessive amount of time. I have been posting optional activities that are extensions to the lesson, so that if kids want to do more, I've just posted those things optional, as far as, little experiments that go with what we're learning for the week, or just, the concept. So if they wanted to do more, they could. And then parent involvement. That really is impacting the quality of work. If the parents are involved, the quality of their work is better, especially for the younger kids. So you have to kind of keep your audience in mind when you're creating the activities, or what parameters you're putting on that learning, in order to, set a realistic expectation for what to expect. And then the only other thing that I didn't mention earlier, that probably could go here under practical tips. If you are wanting to use these task cards and you have older students, you can, customize what materials they would be building with, or require them to use 2 or 3 different building materials in order to kind of scaffold the lesson or make it a little bit more difficult for older students. I also did a week where I had them combine 2 cards. So maybe they chose the build a bridge and the something that flies, and they combined those 2 together in order to make something a little bit more challenging for the older students. And next steps. So I kind of took this 2 ways, and I have a bullet point here to explain both. I think that now that we are starting to learn and utilize new tools, new tricks, when we are back to the building, hopefully soon, I think it's going to be really important that we're utilizing some of those tools in daily instruction once we get back. That way the students aren't, losing the skills they've learned that they have been necessary for remote learning, that may not be necessary when we're together. So I'm really trying to think about how to incorporate the tools and tricks and a lot more of the remote style learning into daily instruction once we are back to school. And then the other next step that I am planning myself would be to provide a photo challenge that lasts over the summer months. So I think in order to try to keep the kids engaged once remote learning is finished in the next couple of weeks, this would be a nice way for them to still communicate over the summer, submit some pictures of things that they found or fit a theme, and then I can share those out as part of a class blog that all the kids have access to. So kind of thinking about my own instruction and then how to keep the kids engaged over the summer as well.